During my graduation party, my family publicly mocked me for not giving up my dream job to work for my uncle. My cousin snickered. "You'll come crawling back when you fail." My mother rolled her eyes. "This is why no one takes you seriously." I quietly slid a letter onto the table. My father read it, his face turning pale. My cousin grabbed it and screamed. They never saw this coming. I, 24 male, graduated from Northwestern University in June with a journalism degree. I worked my ass off for 4 years. Late nights, internships, part-time jobs, all of it. I even wrote for the student paper and covered some pretty serious topics, like housing issues in Chicago and school board corruption. This wasn't a hobby for me. It was the thing that made me feel alive. But my family? They didn't care about that. See, my uncle owns a huge construction company in Illinois. Makes real good money. He started from nothing, built it from the ground up, and now employs like 200 people. Everyone in my family sees him as this hero. My dad worships him. My mom thinks any job outside of the family is a waste of time. So for years, they just assumed I'd finish college and go work for Uncle Ray. They told people that, like it was already settled. "Michael's going to take over the project management side of the business," my dad would say to his friends. Meanwhile, I was applying for writing jobs every chance I got. So graduation day comes. I walk the stage, shake hands, all that good stuff. Then my parents throw this big party for me at our house in the suburbs. It's catered, there's music, the backyard looks like something out of a wedding. I'll give them that, they went all out. The whole family's there. Cousins, uncles, aunts, even people I didn't recognize. Everyone's drinking, laughing, telling me how proud they are. Then it happens. Uncle Ray comes up to me while I'm talking to my old high school friend and puts a hand on my shoulder. "Hey," he says loud enough for everyone near us to hear. "We're excited to have you on board next month. The site in Peoria is perfect for someone with your energy." I froze. "I'm not coming to work for the company," I said. "I took another job." Silence. Like, actual silence. You could hear the music in the background still playing, but no one said a word. Uncle Ray blinked. "You what?" "I got a job in New York. Journalism." He stared at me like I just said I was joining a cult. That's when my cousin Brett, who actually works for Ray's company, starts laughing. "You'll come crawling back when you fail, dude. We'll save you a spot." Some of the people nearby chuckled with him. My mom rolled her eyes like I was being a dramatic teenager. She said, "This is why no one takes you seriously, Michael. You always think you're better than us." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. So I didn't say anything else. I didn't argue. I just reached into my jacket pocket and took out the envelope I'd been carrying all day. I slid it onto the table in front of my dad and walked away. I went into the kitchen and stood there with a soda in my hand, trying not to cry. Trying not to feel like everything I had worked for was meaningless because my own family couldn't even pretend to support me. Then I heard someone yell. It was Brett. He had grabbed the letter, and he read it out loud. "Dear Michael C., we are pleased to offer you the position of junior investigative reporter at the New York Times." I walked back outside. Everyone was staring at me. My dad was holding the envelope, pale as a ghost. My mom's mouth was open like she couldn't figure out what just happened. Brett just looked confused. My aunt was trying to whisper something into Uncle Ray's ear, but he looked like he'd swallowed his tongue. Nobody said a word for a full minute. That's where I'll stop for now. So there I am, standing in front of my entire extended family, who just learned I got a job offer from the New York Times. You'd think this would be a proud moment. A few people looked surprised, in a good way, but most? Not so much. My dad looked like he'd just been punched in the gut. My mom looked like she wanted to slap someone, maybe me. Brett, my cousin, just shook his head and tossed the letter back onto the table like it was trash. Uncle Ray finally spoke. "A newspaper job," he said slowly. "That's what you threw away your future for?" I didn't respond. What could I say? I didn't owe them an explanation, but I could feel the judgment in the air like a thick fog. That's when my dad finally spoke, low but sharp. "You should have told us. You blindsided everyone on purpose." I stayed calm. I knew how you'd all react. "And what?" My mom snapped. "You wanted to embarrass us in front of the whole family? You think you're better than us because of a newspaper job?" I clenched my jaw. "No, Mom. I just wanted you to support me for once." "You're being dramatic," she said. "You have no idea what the real world is like. You'll be back here within a year, begging for work." The party got quiet again. You could hear forks clinking on plates. Someone's kid was crying in the background. My best friend Sam was standing near the fence, watching with wide eyes. He mouthed, "Holy shit." Uncle Ray tried to fix it by raising his glass and forcing a laugh. "Let's all calm down. It's his life. He'll figure it out." But the tone was clear. He's going to screw this up and come running back. Then Aunt Lisa, Ray's wife, muttered something she probably didn't think I'd hear. Bet they just needed a diversity hire. My blood turned cold. I looked straight at her. "Excuse me." She looked down at her plate and didn't say anything else. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from anger. These people, they really didn't see me. Not as a person, not as someone who worked hard. Just another mouth to mold into their version of success. My dad tried to laugh it off. "Let's eat. Let's not turn this into a fight." But it was a fight. A quiet, painful one. One where you realize how little people actually believe in you. That night, after the party started to die down, I found myself in the garage, sitting on the old workbench. My dad walked in. Alone. He didn't look mad anymore. Just tired. "You really going to New York?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I signed the lease on an apartment last week. I leave in 10 days. He nodded slowly, like it was finally sinking in. "You know your cousin Brett has been working 16-hour shifts trying to prove himself to Ray," he said. "You just walked away from all of it." "I never wanted that life," I said. "You all made that decision for me. I'm finally choosing something for myself." He sighed. "What if it doesn't work out?" I met his eyes. "Then it doesn't. But at least it was my choice." He didn't say anything after that. Just walked away, leaving the door open behind him. That should have been the end of it. But then a few days later, something happened that made everything 10 times worse. I got a phone call at midnight. It was Brett. "Dude," he said, his voice weird. "You might want to check Facebook." I was half asleep, but I opened the app. There it was. A post from my mom. Public. Tagged. "Proud of our son, Michael. Even though he's decided to take a different path. We hope he realizes real family loyalty matters more than a flashy job title." Then a comment from Aunt Lisa. "He'll learn. They always do." Brett had even replied. "NYC's about to chew him up and spit him out. Hope someone's got a couch ready when he comes running home." I felt like someone had shoved ice down my spine. They weren't just disappointed. They were mocking me. Publicly. Turning me into some kind of example of failure before I even started. I didn't reply, but that was the moment I decided I wasn't going to let this go. I stayed off Facebook for a while after that. The comments, the mocking, the way they twisted what I was doing into something selfish, it messed with my head. I started questioning everything. Was I being stubborn? Was I throwing away stability for some fantasy? But then the messages started rolling in. From people I hadn't spoken to in years. "Hey, man, congrats on the New York Times gig. That's insane. Just read what your mom posted. Screw that. You've always been the smart one. You inspired me to go after my dream job too." It reminded me why I started writing in the first place. To tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. So I kept packing. My plane ticket was booked. My lease in Manhattan was paid. 10 days and I'd be gone. Then the phone rang again. It was Sam, my best friend. He sounded weird. "Hey, man, you got a second?" "Yeah. What's up?" "I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but your uncle tried to call my dad last night. Asked if you were bluffing about New York. Said he needed to know if you'd really burned that bridge." "What?" "He said he was talking to a contact in New York who might be able to redirect you into a safer position, something more fitting." I sat down. "You're telling me he tried to sabotage my job?" Sam hesitated. "Not directly. But yeah, man. Sounds like he's trying to rescue you before you embarrass the family." That was the moment something shifted in me. I wasn't just angry. I was done. Done trying to earn their respect. Done playing the part of the good son. I knew what I had to do. So I invited them to a going-away dinner. The dinner was at a quiet Italian restaurant downtown. Small, warm lighting, nothing too fancy. I paid for it myself. Told them it was a thank you for raising me, even if we didn't see eye to eye. They showed up dressed like it was a business meeting. My mom in pearls, dad in a blazer. Uncle Ray in a crisp shirt, looking like he was about to sign a deal. Brett came too, probably for the free food. We ordered, made awkward small talk. Then I pulled out a folder. "I wanted to show you something," I said. They all leaned in. I took out copies of my first article, already scheduled to go live on my first week at the Times. It was an expose on a series of no-bid contracts awarded to companies across Illinois, including my uncle's. "What is this?" Uncle Ray asked slowly. "My article," I said. "It's about corruption in the construction industry. His face darkened. You wrote about me? I didn't name names. But your firm's in the records. Public info. You used our business as your stepping stone? My mom snapped. No, I said. I told the truth. That's my job. Brett stood up. You think you're some hero now? I think I'm doing what you were all too scared to do. Stand up to someone who controls everything with a paycheck. Uncle Ray stood too, his hands on the table. You better think very carefully about what you're publishing. This isn't a game. I know exactly what it is, I said. That's why I'm leaving. My dad looked exhausted, but he didn't say a word. They left the restaurant one by one. No hugs. No goodbyes. Only Sam stayed. He clapped once, real slow. That, he said, was F******ing nuclear. The fallout wasn't immediate. But the next day, I got a call from my soon-to-be editor at the Times. We received an interesting email, she said. My stomach dropped. She continued, your uncle tried to claim you had a personal vendetta, that you fabricated your sources. I didn't even have time to respond. We checked the facts again. Every line. You're clean. I exhaled. But we're watching the situation. This isn't going to be an easy first month, Michael. Your name is about to be attached to some very uncomfortable headlines. I'm ready. You better be. A week later, the article went live. And that's when the real chaos started. When the article dropped, it hit harder than even I expected. The headline? Inside the Illinois construction bubble, where profits speak louder than permits. It was thorough, professional, fact-checked, everything by the book. But it lit a fuse. 3 local news stations picked it up within a day. The story got traction online. A city council member mentioned it on Twitter. Then someone on Reddit found the connections. One of the construction companies listed shared a postal address with Ray's firm. It didn't take long for people to start asking questions. By the end of the week, Uncle Ray was on the phone with lawyers. He went full panic mode, claimed it was a hit job, that I was a bitter kid with an agenda. He even sent out a public statement that half read like a threat and half like a plea. But it didn't matter. People were looking. Reporters were asking around. Then, just 2 days before I was supposed to fly to New York, my parents showed up at my apartment. Uninvited. I opened the door. My mom walked in first, eyes puffy. Dad followed, quiet. She sat down and just stared at me. How could you do this to your family? It wasn't to my family, I said. It was for the truth. You destroyed your uncle's reputation, she snapped. He might lose everything. Brett's job is at risk. Do you even care? I didn't answer right away. Did you care when you told the whole family I'd come crawling back? I asked. When you mocked me online? When Lisa called me a diversity hire? My mom flinched. Dad spoke up. This was personal, Michael. No, I said firmly. You made it personal. I did my job. I followed facts. Silence. Then my mom broke. We were scared, okay? You had a safe future laid out, and you threw it away. We didn't know how to support that. I felt something shift in the room. Like honesty finally stepped in. And Uncle Ray? I asked. He tried to contact my employer. Tried to discredit me. He was trying to protect the business, she said weakly. And that's the problem. My dad looked at me, real quiet. We didn't believe in you, Michael. Not the way we should have. It didn't make it right. But it was the first time he admitted it. I looked at both of them. I didn't need you to believe I'd succeed. I needed you to believe it was okay if I tried. They didn't respond. Instead, they stood up, said they hoped I'd think twice before printing anything else, and left. No hug. No goodbye. At the airport, Sam drove me. Helped with my bags. Stayed quiet most of the way. You okay? He asked as we unloaded the trunk. No, I said honestly. But I'm not lost anymore either. He gave me a side hug. Screw them. You did what they never had the guts to. I smiled, but it was sad. Yeah, still hurts though. He nodded. Truth usually does. It's been 8 months. I'm still in New York. Still working at the Times. My name's been on 3 published pieces. One of them just got shortlisted for an award. Uncle Ray's company. Still running, but under investigation. My mom emails sometimes. Short, stiff. Holidays mostly. My dad hasn't reached out. Brett? No clue. Don't care. I thought when I got here I'd feel like I won. But the truth is, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like finally standing up and realizing the people you thought would catch you if you fell weren't ever holding out their hands in the first place. I've learned a lot about power, pride, and silence. Mostly, I learned this. People get angry when you don't stay in the role they wrote for you. But that's not my problem anymore. I write my own lines now.